afternoon, goons. Welcome back to another episode of Jack of All Trades. Today's episode, we're going to start off a little bit with trading and then move into mostly investing, just so you're aware. But right now, let's go for trading, though. Kaylin, I need your expertise. This happened. This was bothering me because you remember how I told you, like, I settled into this groove of just doing like swing trades and it's more my thing.
Yeah.
Well, I did capitalize on this one trade. Like, if there's something short term, I'll still capitalize on it. And this is a Bitcoin bull. So for those who don't know, Bitcoin bull is like a synthetic product where it's 3x. So whatever Bitcoin moves, if Bitcoin moves 10%, this thing will move 30%. If Bitcoin drops 10%, this thing will drop 30%. So it's like everything's multiplied. So you could so it's kind of like leveraged. You can ideally put less money in there and get higher returns. So then I put a lowball order. I don't know if you guys can see the arrow here, but I put a lowball order over here on I don't know when I did that, but it hit on the 21st. Bitcoin was selling off for about a week. And the lowball order hit, I remember it was like 50, 51, I think, 5100. And it started moving up in the consecutive, these are daily candles. And it started moving up in the consecutive days. And it started teetering around day 3. And I wrote on Instagram that night, I'm like, maybe I should put in a stop because I never put stops. So then I put one right where that line is. I put it at 5,600. So then I would have had a 10% return on this investment if I stopped out. And I went to sleep. Sure enough, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., it hit my stop, and then it's been petering out, and then it just moved back up. My question is, because I never set stops, one, is that a good place to set the stop? Because I mean, I have my reasons of why I put it there, but I want to hear what your thoughts on.
I mean, it depends what your risk is, right? Like for me, I would usually have I would have to stop almost ready to go before I even bought in. So like you had your low baller at 5,100, like might have my stop at like 4,800 or whatever it is. But like my question would be like if you look at that big candle that tanked like to the far left of your screen there, like it kind of set a line almost at, what is that number, like 7,100 area, like 66, 71, kind of like in that range. There's a bit of a line, like right about there, right? Because you had your big candle kind of wick through there, and then it kind of bounced off that again before it rolled over when you bought in. So like I would have set some sell orders right there, and then what I would do at that point is basically set my stop at my entry price. So I would sell a piece into that very first line, and then that way if I set my stop at my entry price, then I'm still out for a profit, or even just below your entry price, and then you can be out for break even.
See, that's where I need to adjust because I'm still doing the one shot thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the level that it sold off at right there. I think mine was like it was something stupid like $40 above that.
Yeah. See, it's tricky, right? Because like you're never going to make as, like if you trade the way that I just described, you're never going to make as much money in a single trade as you would if you were just like all in, all out. But in the long game, it protects you a lot more, right? That's kind of like the way that I look at it. Is like I when I first started, I was always like that. I was like, oh, I want the big move. I just want to capture the whole thing. But like after a while, I was like, there's just too many ups and downs, man. It's too emotional. Like it's just like I could make a couple bucks a day every day, or I could make a huge amount of money today and then lose a bit tomorrow, and then maybe lose a bit more and then make a huge amount of money the next day. And like for me, anyways, it just like I just love trading for free. So if I can sell out just enough that I know if it goes down, I can get over break even.
See, so what I did was like I missed it by like $40 here. See that? I'm always have this debate with myself because I'm just more comfortable not sizing out, even though I know I should.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually thought that level was pretty. That would have been like near my lowball order, so I think it would have. It's kind of surprising it didn't hit. Um, but like so I obviously set another order like just in anticipation of the sell off because I can't, I don't have time to do this 24-hour bullshit. So then I'm like, let's just try to anticipate what's going to happen, and then obviously this never bought in and never hit. But
yeah, it just depends on what your risk tolerance is, right? Like I just like to know that I can get out and make a little bit of money and lock some in, because I think it helps you too from like panicking out at the wrong moment. Like I'm not saying that you panicked out there, but like the fact that you set your stop there, like if it comes down and it gets close to that, you're going to get all frustrated because you're like, oh, I was up, this much money, and now I'm only up this much money. Whereas if you take a little bit off into the spike, then you can be a little bit more comfortable with it. Like I don't know what kind of money you're making. Let's say it's just $100, right? Like let's say the high there from the bottom you're up $100, and then it comes down and now you're only up like $30 and it hits your stop. You're going like, fuck, man, I was up $100. Now I'm only making $30. Whereas if you sold a piece into the top there, you could have locked in the $30 and then let it come down, and then you can be more comfortable because you're saying, okay, I already have money in the bank. Like, let's just chill, let it do its thing. If it goes back down, I'll just sell it for break even. If it goes back up, then I can make more, right? It's just like it's just kind of like more of a mental game for me anyway. I just found that out my own game personally.
I think it's part of it was because of the size. It was an $800 position. I was kind of like pretty nonchalant about it.
Hmm.
It was like because I also wanted to play the bull just to see what it's like. So it's like, yeah, I bought in it for 800. I got out at 900, like
Right.
just over 10%. But you know what though? You just made me realize. I think I will at least try to do two exits, one safety, and then one like maybe whatever I would have normally said.
Yeah,
Because
it doesn't even have to be a lot too, right? Like when I say like, that first line, like if you're gonna sell a bit into that first line, like sell like 20% of your position, like 30% of your position. Like you're not taking off like 60% size. Like you're literally just it's just like it's almost just like a mental thing. Like you're just taking off enough to be like, okay, I made money on the trade. And then you can just chill and it's not gonna stress you out anymore, right? Like it's like, I was talking to you guys in the group about GRA, like that swing trade I've been in for like months and months now. Like I'm down, I started with like thousands and thousands of shares, and now I've just been selling into all the pops all the way along, like from $3 up to like $7 now, and I'm down to my last 500 shares. So like I'm not buying anymore at this point, but like I have like a $4 average, so the thing can literally drop like $3, and I'll sell the 500 shares for break even. Like I wouldn't let it go that far anyways, but like I can sit on that thing for a year now and let it, like if it goes up to $100 a share, I'll just let it go because I've already locked in enough that I can be totally relaxed in the trade.
I'm starting to see that new strategy you're adopting make a lot of sense. Where it's like you're taking a larger position, you're sizing out more often.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's starting,
it's a little bit more stressful on the entry because, like you said, you're taking a larger position at the get go. But like if you can, if you're confident enough in your systems and you can sell a little bit really quick, then it's almost like you're immediately getting to where you want it to be. So it's like, let's say you're going to buy 10,000 shares of something. Like, okay, maybe you buy 13,000 shares, and then you sell 3,000 of them for like a 3% move, and then now you've already locked in money, so you can put in a stop where you're at break even, which is at a good level, and you can let the original 10,000 shares that you wanted to have. Now you're comfortable to just let that go. Whereas if you didn't have any money locked in, then if the 10,000 goes up and then it comes back down, now you're getting all stressed out, right? Like trading should be boring at the end of the day. Like that's the way I look at it. Like I want to be sitting there and looking at stuff, and I want to be bored and just watch my bank account go up. Like I don't want to be sitting there stressing out and sweating and panicking all the time. Like you can't do that for your whole life. You can't make a career out of doing that.
really, I thought you were into the adrenaline.
Well, I mean, like adrenaline's a relative term, right? Like, I mean, I raced motocross my whole life and do extreme sports and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just like I just don't want to be stressed. Like, I want to be comfortable and be like it's just because I like volatility, right? Like, I need stuff that's moving like 20, 30, 40% in a matter of a day or two. That's what I mean by like high adrenaline, I guess you could say. But I'm not playing as big, right? Like if you're playing Bitcoin and you're trying to make like 5, 6%, like you're playing with probably 5 times as I'm because my moves are bigger.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, my last Bitcoin order, it was two orders split together. Total hit was like just under 9,000 US. That's
Yeah,
like I don't know how that's relative to you, but that's like the size that I need to be at just to make it kind of worthwhile.
yeah. Depends on the price, right? Like if I'm playing a stock that's 10 or 15 bucks, like my position size might be $20,000, but it depends on the range, right? Like if it's only moving, if it's moving like 50 cents and I have a $20,000 position, like it's not that much fluctuation in my dollar value. But if it's like a 3,000 or a $3 stock and I put $20,000 into it, like that's way riskier.
It's true. It's true. All right. Um. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a note of this because I think I know what I need to work on. But
Yeah.
let's move on to the because some interesting things happened on the investment side. Just Q3 just ended, so a lot of the automakers' numbers came out. And so you saw those forecast plummets in the third quarter. Like, I don't know why this is a surprise to anybody. Like, because all the EV bulls or the Tesla bulls are calling for this like months and months out. And then like you may have noticed like Ford, Volkswagen, a couple of those major automakers, Toyota, have been out there like beating the drum, saying, "Oh, we're gonna go EV. We're doing great." Like they're trying to drum up the stock price, right? But then I knew that when the reality hits, I'm sorry, but you can't avoid it. But there's a chip shortage happening. They're blaming that for the shortfall of their sales. But so third quarter, GM and Ford are down 30% each, roughly, in sales compared to last year. And that 30% is a lot when you're selling millions of volume.
Yeah. Is that like overall or just their electric?
No, that's at all, total sales.
Wow. Yeah, they're gonna drop like crazy, man. Like even like me and my wife were talking about that. Like, she's got like a Mazda right now, but like we're not gonna like if the car just dies and explodes, like we might have to get something that we don't really want. But like I'm not like any of the next vehicles I buy, I'm not even looking at gas. Like I haven't even entertained the idea. And I know a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. They're like, okay, like I have this car now, so I'm not rushing to get another like an electric car. I said electric guitar, an electric car at this moment. But like once I'm ready to get a new car, like everybody's just looking electric.
Yeah. And that actually brings up the point. I think that's I wrote like months ago that whenever an industry is about to change, it'll reach a pivotal point, and then when you reach it, it's like the change will happen instantly. It'll be shocking, right? I think the last time we experienced this was the move from feature phones to smartphones. Like nobody remembers how long it took, but it wasn't long, right? It was
Yeah,
like instantaneous. As soon as the iPhone came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this is better." It didn't take long for people to switch.
it's a price thing, right? Like as soon as you start getting electric cars, I mean, even now, like you look at a Tesla, like a Tesla Model 3, and like I was doing some research the other day. Like they have like Kias and all these other kind of cars that are all in like they're all making electric cars that like they're pretty good little cars depending on how far you have to drive and whatnot. But they're all kind of in the same price point. Like you look at like an SUV that's fully electric. I mean, you can get one for around $40,000 like in Canada here. So it's not too different from an SUV of the same size. Like the price point might be $30,000 for a gas versus $40,000 for electric. Like I remember some of them I was looking at, like the Kias in particular, just because I remember that one. It was like the gas Kia Soul, I think it was like $23,000, and then the hybrid one was like $32,000, and then the electric one was like $42,000. So it's like $10,000 for each step essentially in that particular car. But I mean, another 5 years from now, I bet you any money that electric car is going to come down to the $30,000 range, and the gas car is probably going to be around the same. It might even go up just because there's less demand for those components. Like
Yeah.
you don't know, right?
You nailed it. Actually, that price is a perfect example. The battery pack is about 30 to 33% of the total cost of the car. Sometimes it's even 40% if they don't get a good supplier. So if you look at the cost of the hybrid versus the gas, you literally just put in the battery pack, and that's how you explain the price increase. It almost fits
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah, that
Um,
makes sense then.
and so that's one of the great arguments that EV bulls have. Like, not an ideology thing about climate change. It's literally like what's going to win, what's going to make money, right? It's like gas is not going to get cheaper.
Hmm.
And the components of making the cars, well, you're going to need roughly the same components to make an EV that you do an ICE vehicle, right? So, but the battery pack that can get cheaper. That can get significantly cheaper. That's technology that can still advance. So then, I think ARK Investment they did a study not too long ago, like within the last 6 to 18 months, saying that right now the cost of ownership between EVs and ICE vehicles over the life of the car is already either break even or cheaper from the EV side. It's just less maintenance things that you have to do.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's not really much to take care of, and the other really nice thing too is that like when you're talking about electricity, like I have heard some people say like, oh well, as soon as electric cars become the norm, they're just going to tax electricity like crazy, and it's going to be the same price as gas. Well, the nice thing about that from a consumer standpoint is you can just put some solar panels in. You can get like geothermal heating. You can literally, let's say the government makes electric cars, kilometer for kilometer the same price as it would cost to run a gas car. Just put a solar panel in. You charge your car off the sun, and now you're literally driving for free. So
Yeah.
you have that option.
That and that's a really dumb argument to make because electricity is renewable. We're making it even when we're not using it. You can't say
Yeah,
the same for oil.
we usually
So
make more than we use.
exactly. So it's like, and then going renewable and whatnot. It's a completely different dynamic. But going to what you were saying earlier, like how the traditional autos, their sales went down 30%. Guess who's didn't go down? I just got Tesla just released their this press release, like I think Saturday morning, and they made a total of production was 237,000 units, sales was 241,000. So they had at any given time they have about 20,000 units just kind of in transit or available for sale. So that's why
Mhm.
sales deliveries are above productions. But this is the biggest quarter by far ever. The last quarter record was 180,000 units. So they about went up about 20%, I'd say.
So they're pretty much on track to almost sell like a million in a year, essentially, like in the next 12 months.
Yeah, yeah, actually, they guided for about 750 to 850 this year, and but then this was last year. Last year was the first year they hit 500,000 units. And what Elon was saying was that in the next few years, expect us to grow 50% a year. He told people this was going to happen, and people still doubted him. Like, I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
but
It
like,
makes sense. I mean, like it's one of those things that's basically inevitable, right? Like there's no point in trying to avoid it. Like it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of like how soon is it like really affordable for like the average Joe kind of thing, right? Like how soon can you go out and buy a brand new Tesla for the same price that you could get like, a new Honda Civic?
yeah, I think it's going to be sooner than people think. I have a suspicion. So there's a lot of talk about a $25,000. I think that's like the magic number, $25,000 EV.
Yeah.
And Tesla, I think they've already designed it, and the only thing they're waiting on is the battery pack because they can't use the current battery packs to make that profitable. But whenever the new battery packs come out, that car will be launched, and that'll be like the nail in the coffin of any automaker not selling EVs.
Are they expecting that to have like what kind of range are they expecting on that one?
It's going to be less. So in terms of miles, it's probably going to be 200. So I
Okay.
don't know, it's like 400, no, maybe 380 kilometers, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's still pretty far. Like, I mean,
It,
I'm like 90 kilometers from my work, and it's still getting me back and forth for 2 days.
Yeah, it won't be handicapped, but that car is going to be mainly for the Asian market and the European market. They like smaller and they don't need less because like travel is like a North American thing. We travel long distances because we have so much space. But when you're looking at the old countries, different story.
It's the cities too, right? Like most of your market's probably in the cities, but like that's the tricky part though, is that when I almost wonder, I don't know, there's probably a study somewhere, but I'd be kind of curious to see like what the difference in like emissions is versus like in a city versus like like a huge rural population, because like we're everybody who lives in the country, like we're driving a lot further, right? Like I just said, I mean, I'm driving like 90 kilometers to work. Like if I lived in the city, I might be driving 10, right? So like in a week, I'm doing what someone in the city might be doing in like 3 4 months as far as kilometers go.
Feel
But
like
it's a population density thing
yeah.
too, right? But I know like when I'm on my way in the morning, like, there's a lot of people that are going in. Like we're all going to the city.
So I put it this way. It's like so. Let's say you have to drive 4 times the distance if you live out of the city. So
Mhm.
maybe your daily commute for you is like 15 kilometers in the city, it's 60 kilometers if you live outside, right? Um, but the city probably has 10 times the density of a rural area. So then that 4 is offset by the 10. That's
Yeah,
my guess. I'm gonna yeah. Because
yeah,
I remember when COVID first hit and they showed those satellite images of China and they had the shutdowns and they showed before and after pockets of pollution just went just disappeared.
yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So like
Yeah,
I think yeah. So the cities are clearly where the problem areas are.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see. They're gonna have to like it'll have to be long range though still for like people, especially the trucks. I think those will be the big ones. Like any of the
Yeah.
pickup trucks that they're coming out with, those are the ones where like they're gonna have to, I think, make sure that they go like at least the same, if not further than the cars, because and like shouldn't say anybody, but like most people who drive pickup trucks, like you're towing more
Yes.
stuff. You're putting weight in it, which uses more power. You're usually like driving further. I mean, like literally every single one of my neighbors has a pickup truck. Like everybody in the country has one. So like those are the ones that are going to have to be able to go really far to be useful, especially guys like I'm thinking like, contractors and stuff
Yes.
too. Like people that are driving, like people that drive all day in their pickup truck, like for work and stuff. Like you're going to have these things going minimum like 500 kilometers if you want to be able to get a full day out of them.
Yeah. I'll give Ford credit though. The F-150 that they design's coming out, I guess next year. They put that in mind. I think they put 500-mile range on the top end one. I think it's like
Really? 500
800
miles?
Yeah, so it's 800
Wow.
kilometers or something like that.
That's in the Lightning?
The Lightning, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Huh, that's
So
pretty
so
good.
apparently, like they threw everything in the kitchen sink at that thing. Like they doubled the battery pack size. They want it so that if your house has a power out, you could use the truck to power your house, like your appliances
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
that's super cool.
it's damn cool. Like so I'll give them a lot of credit for designing that thing. And you're right, like trucks are like the predominant sales in North America. So if they
Yeah.
get trucks right, I mean, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, well, like it's like that's what I was just thinking again with contractors and stuff like that. Like, like you have these companies where they're buying like fleets of like, 20, 40, 50 pickup trucks like every 3 years. Right. So like that's a huge chunk. And every single one of those trucks is literally on the road all day long for work. So if they can nail those down, that would be a huge impact. And then the next step behind that would be machines like, excavators and skid steers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Um, and so like I don't understand why investing in EVs is so hard because it's like to me it's like a brain dead investment. If you
Mhm.
know an industry is going to shift in a certain direction, why aren't you or have some exposure of your portfolio in it, right? Um, what do you think might be like a holdup?
Well, I was just going to kind of ask you, we got another 10 minutes here. I was going to ask you about XPeng because I know you saw on your Instagram post, you said that they're coming out with like a $25,000 car and you're saying that they're only selling in China though. So my question to you is, are you like, what are your thoughts on investing like big money, whatever big money is to the individual in Chinese stocks? Like because to me personally, it just makes me a little bit nervous. Like after seeing what happened with Alibaba, like after seeing what happened with Jack Ma and like even Trump, like at one point he was saying that he's not doing stuff with China and he's gonna like not allow people to invest in Chinese stocks or let them be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, like just stuff like that. Like if you're gonna put like $100,000 into something, like what are your thoughts?
So this is my wheelhouse. Because even though I trade like I'm very selective with my picks. I very much think like a macro investor, so like a Ray Dalio, um, where they actually trade on global economic conditions. So I just take that framework and I just apply it to specific stocks. And it's helped really well because so for your concern about XPeng, the reason so your fears about the Chinese government messing with the stock, the opposite of that, the inverse of that is why I'm in the stock because in the same way that they if a company falls out of favor with the Chinese government, they'll punish them. But on the flip side, if a company has their favor, they're going to go out of their way to support them. So they call them national champions. So during the internet boom 20 years ago, there's a bunch of companies that came out. Government threw ridiculous amounts of money. It was like hundreds and or maybe even thousands of internet companies. They didn't know who's going to win, but they just gave them all money. They said, "Go do this. Be our version of Google. Be our version of whatever." Right? And then when the champions emerged, Tencent, Alibaba, they supported them even more. They blocked out Google's. They used regulations. They helped them out and they helped them grow. Right?
Mhm.
So their mandate for China to go EV is 2035, so no fuel cars at all. So that's soon, and that's I think part of the reason why they invited Tesla to be in there because Tesla's the only foreign-owned company ever that's allowed to own a factory in China, 100% foreign owned. And I think the
Mhm.
reason they did that was because they're so desperate to go EV. Without Tesla, they couldn't reach their goal. And so this is one example where I think if you understand where the government's mindset is and you just align your goals with theirs, then you're going to actually take advantage of their kind of their overbearing power, I guess.
Right.
They have on the market. So my guess is that they're going to pick a champion or a few champions for the EV space. So that got me excited because I'm like, okay, who's it going to be? Because this person's going to just walk on water soon as they get picked, right?
Yeah.
So my investment, so I put my investment framework, applied it to Neo, XPeng, Li Auto, BYD, all of them. XPeng came out the winner. and it was clearly the winner because they sell a cheaper product. And I say this all the time. They sell a product about 80% as good as Tesla's for like 60% of the price. The value proposition is clear, right? Whereas NIO sells a great product, but they're trying to fight Tesla. They're $80,000, $90,000 cars in the Chinese market of all places, right? Whereas XPeng is doing $25,000. So and their other thing they're doing smart is they have no intention of going into the North American market. So that's really gonna help you in terms of your overhead costs. So they're gonna have a lot of runway to go to just to focus, right? So they're gonna do Asia and they're gonna do a little bit of Europe. And so their business plan, their business model, their products, everything just looked right to me.
Hmm.
Cool. Thanks, Sam. I
Thanks.
like this. I like this. It's working.
I know. Yeah, yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. Like, especially considering cover getting support before someone like Tesla did, for sure, because they probably want to try and keep as much of that in house as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
Yeah.
this one, this was the one you were talking about. I saw this posted, I think yesterday too, or Friday. When I saw this, I was like, "Holy shit! Shots fired!"
Mhm.
Because it's been known in the industry for a while among like the experts and the analysts that if and when an EV comes out in the $25,000 range, that's not crippled. That's actually useful. Comparable to like a Civic or something. That's the kill shot for fuel.
Yeah,
That's the day.
especially in China here, because you're not like, for the most part, people aren't driving that far, right? Like China is so densely populated, like in the cities and stuff like that. Like they could probably even come out with like a $20,000 car, like an $18,000 car that has like 100-mile range, and that would still probably get a lot of people to work for like 3 or 4 days.
You're a freaking genius because somebody did that.
Oh, really?
The top selling EV in China is not Tesla. In a distant first, actually, it's a I think it's an $8,000 EV, but really, it's like a moped with thin walls.
That's awesome.
It's like a three-wheeled trike with thin walls, and it's got like 100-kilometer range.
Oh my god.
But it's the 8 grand, but 100 kilometers. Like, why the hell not,
Can you
right?
imagine driving that around here? Like, imagine you went down to Toronto in a fucking three-wheeler go-kart.
Dude, we're gonna run them off the road. Like, this is North
Oh my
America.
god. Get passed by a transport truck, it would just blow you into the ditch.
How do you even do the winters? Like,
Oh, you wouldn't. There's no way.
yeah, I could even see like a big gust of wind, like shaking them off the road a little bit.
Well, at least they're making them though. That's good.
Yeah, but yeah, like I don't know if before we wrap up, if there's anything else I can answer to you about that, but like that's why like I'm in the EV space because it's like so that those hit my core requirements for investing, which is I always want to invest in a company that's in a growing industry. So whether
Mm.
or not the company is the top of their food chain in that industry, as long as the industry is growing, rising tide floats all boats. That guy's going to be a winner of some level,
Yeah.
right? So there's some safety in there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, it's good to get a back a company whose government or governments have policies supporting their business or business model. So renewables, ESG, whatnot these days.
Yeah.
Um, so these are all like good tailwinds. So Tesla and XPeng are my two largest holdings combined. They're probably 94% of everything I own.
Really.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense though. I mean, like you said, it's the Chinese government. As long as you're on the same side as them and you can kind of roll with that, then you're pretty much safe. So just as long as they don't change their mind.
Oh, they'll change their mind. The question is, you got to kind of just keep your ear to the ground.
Get
You
ready
just
to
got to,
sell when they change their
yeah,
mind.
exactly, exactly.
All right,
Like,
let's wrap it up.
let's wrap it up. All right. I'm liking how this new format's working. So, if anybody wants to give us some messages and give feedback and let us know how it's going, we appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Later.